What's up guys? Today we got another video as part of our Method of Scrapes series. Today we're going to be talking about playing scrapes in the Forte to Fortissimo dynamic range, or about 9 to 12 inches. So the first thing that we're going to need to do is develop some natural rebound, either playing legatos or 8 on a hand, same exercise but 2 different names, is a good way to start warming this up. So I'm not doing any sort of downstroke in my motion, it's just one consistent motion. I'm letting the stick just rebound off the head, and then as far as the fingers go, I'm just cradling the stick in my back fingers. I'm not squeezing at all, so the stick is still nice and resonant instead of choked off like that. And then the next thing that we're going to need to do is have efficient motions. If you watched the first 2 videos in this series, Steven talked about our scrape zones. So for the scrape zones, we're looking at the shortest distance between each drum. So for drums 1 and 3, it's right here. Drums 1 and 2, it's kind of up here in the middle. And then 2 and 4, it's just the same thing as 1 and 3 but mirrored on the opposite side. And we're gonna wanna scrape in these zones and have efficient motions, or economy of motion is another term that I grew up using. So we don't want to scrape all the way into the normal playing zones because we have to do too much horizontal motion. You want to scrape in the scrape zone. You're having to do less work for a greater result. Now that we've warmed up our legato stroke with 8 on a hand, down and up the drums, we're going to start to apply this around. And we'll start with the smallest distance between drums, which is drums 1 and 2. And I'm going to be playing the same exercise, 8 on a hand, but up here in the scrape zones. And a couple of things to key into before we start playing this will be the use of vertical motion and not as much horizontal motion, because then we'll start to develop a slice and then hit a rim, which is not what we want. And the pathway from drum to drum is going to be an arch motion. So you can think of the St. Louis arch between every single drum. That's the pathway that we want, where we're going down into the head, letting the stick rebound, and then straight down into the next drum and letting the stick rebound from there. Now we're going to start incorporating the double stroke into this scrape motion, and the next step in this process will be playing the same exercise but in triplet form. And a couple of things to look out for is giving quality to the second note of the double stroke, and that's going to happen by letting your fingers stay cradled on the stick and not dropping your fingers out like this, so that the second note doesn't have as much sound quality as the first note does. We want both notes of the double stroke to be sounding the exact same. Here's the exercise. So the 2 exercises that we just went through between drums 1 and 2, those come from a quad method book called Movement and Mentality by Nick Worth. You can check it out on nickworth.com. I highly recommend picking up a copy of that. Also checking out all the other stuff on his website. He goes through a lot of different scrape patterns and ways to break things down, and different rhythm and sticking combinations. That is also a very great resource to have in your toolbox of quad knowledge. A pretty stock exercise that most of us probably have heard before is called Irish Spring. This is a pretty good one to start scraping around the drums and really develop our double strokes, at least in triplet form. And then there are also some good exercises in duple that we will get to as well. You want to first start with playing all these exercises on drum 2. We want to develop a nice smooth sound and stroke on one surface before we begin to move around the drums. Now that we've established Irish Spring as a good breakdown for our scrapes, at least in the triplet form, we're going to start to apply this exercise around the drums. And the first one that we'll do is west side out scrapes. So we'll be on the west side of the drums and centered around drum 2. We're going to be scraping out to drums 1 and 4. And we're going to keep all of the single notes on drum 2, and only the scrapes are going to be moved outwards. The very last exercise that we're going to be breaking down today is called stick control. This one's a pretty stock exercise. There's a few different variations that you've probably seen groups either in WGI or drum corps or other high schools play. The version that we're going to go through is one that I've been playing kind of since the end of high school into my summers of drum corps with the Boston Crusaders. This is going to kind of encapsulate all of the themes that we've been talking about today. So vertical motion, economy of motion, finger support, quality to each note in the exercise. And just like all the other exercises that we've played today, this one's the hardest one, so it's going to be a challenge to make every note sound exactly the same. But that's the goal that we're going for, at least for these exercises and playing scrapes at louder volumes, is really getting each note to sound exactly the same from the check to the variation. And then while we're moving across 3 and 4 drums at a time, we're still trying to get the vertical motion and not too much horizontal motion, so we can stay off of the rims, and we still want that arch pathway in between each drum as we're moving through the exercise. Thanks for checking out this video today, guys. Just some closing remarks. Remember that when we're playing scrapes at Forte and Fortissimo, or about 9 to 12 inches, we still don't want to pound. We don't want to get super arm pumpy. We still want the stroke to initiate from the wrist, and then we want the arm motion to come in to play to allow natural flow, but we don't want to be like ever downstroking or playing too harsh into the drum. You still want to rebound, get a nice open sound, and have the right amount of finger support that you need. You don't need to be too clamped with your fingers or keep the stick too close to the inside of your hand. Still want this to be pretty open. And then always break all this stuff down on drum 2. Develop nice smooth rhythms and a good sense of fluidity before moving around the drums, so that we're building good habits in our practice, and then which will in turn allow us to develop better sound quality and just be overall better at moving around the drums. And today we really talked about out scrapes, so stay tuned on the video talking about in scrapes, because that is a whole different objective to tackle.